Hello, love bug. Today we're going to talk about why you're such a horrible partner and why you should have already known everything that I'm about to tell you in this video, and most importantly, how to stifle yourself, how to twist yourself into a pretzel so that you don't ruin anybody else's life. I'm Love Smarts Lizzie, and wait, why does your face look like that? All I said was today we're going to talk about rejection sensitivity and how it might be impacting your relationship. But does this sound familiar? Did that sound like the inside of your head whenever your partner or a friend or your boss tries to talk to you? You have an automatic filter that just makes everything sound like you suck. That is rejection sensitivity. And I really do want to talk to you about it because it is impacting your relationship. It is making you feel like less of a team, less close to your partner, less hope for things to improve or change. And it doesn't actually have to be like that. I am Love Smarts Lizzie, and I do help people be more themselves in their relationship and create the kind of relationship that celebrates both people being fully themselves. And one thing that I've seen as somebody who was late diagnosed with ADHD and somebody who works with a lot of mixed neurotype couples is that you might know that you have rejection sensitivity. Your partner might know that you have rejection sensitivity. And logically, it makes sense that they're telling you these things because they want to be closer to you, because they want to be with you, and they want things to improve. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste the energy saying it. You might know all these things cognitively, but of course, inside, it just feels like you're on high alert and you go right to shut down, and it doesn't feel like there's very much that can be done about it. But I'm here to tell you that there is. You might always hear this faint voice of, you suck, you suck, you suck. But with some of the tools that we can talk about, what we want to do is make that voice less of a megaphone and more of a whisper. And then we will, of course, have some other voices on different volumes that will also kind of make the choir of your brain considering the information and pausing before you react and creating a different pattern. So even if you do feel rejected inside, you're going to learn to pause and you're going to learn to respond behaviorally in a different way. And that's actually going to change everything. That is going to make you feel closer with your partner. It's going to make you feel like you trust your partner more and vice versa. So if all that sounds good to you, keep watching. We're going to get into it. So first I want to tell you a story. This is one of the earlier times that I got feedback, but definitely not the first time. I was actually lucky enough to be in musical theater all growing up. And so we would audition and we would sometimes get rejected. And so I got a lot of practice managing rejection. But I do remember when I was in college, I was in this creative writing class and we had to write like a 12-page double-spaced story. And it was like my art. It was a little bit different than an academic paper because it just really felt like my soul on the page, you know? And what we needed to do, we need to print out like 15 copies, pass them out to everyone in the class. Everyone would read them and come with all of their feedback, all of their red pen, all of their like, you need more context about this, or this sentence didn't make sense to me, or whatever it is. And the entire class would be everybody sharing their feedback and you just sitting and, taking it, right? And I remember hearing everyone's feedback and being like, all of their feedback makes sense, but I can't take it. I just it's not coming in. And I knew that there had to be something between the present state where I was just like, no, thank you, and the revisions that I actually needed to make on this story for the class, where of course I could keep it exactly as it was and see what happened. But the reason that I was in that class was to improve my writing. And so what I ended up doing was I went and I got my navel pierced, and that helped. After I did that, I was able to sit down and be like, okay, what did everyone say? And the reason I'm sharing that with you is that was kind of my coping skill before some of these other coping skills, like the tapping and the cognitive reframes and all of that stuff. But what it really did was it gave me a way to work through what feels a lot like rage or like anger or how dare you, or even like self-effacing anger, just like, why didn't I already know this? And I think that's something that comes up with rejection sensitivity that can sometimes be misplaced on our partner or on ourselves. It just kind of feels infuriating sometimes when you get feedback, and it doesn't have to make sense why, but there's got to be some way for you to sort of release it and then be able to move on. And I don't know if I recommend getting a piercing every single time you get feedback. I know for me personally, I wouldn't be able to like walk through any metal detectors if I did that. But luckily, I've gotten a little bit more tolerant of getting feedback. And so I'm going to help you learn to do the same. The first tool I want to offer is just a reframe that's going to sound really obvious. It's kind of like if a tree falls in a forest and no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. The feedback exists whether you hear it or not. You not hearing the feedback is not going to make it go away in your partner's head or in your friend's head or whoever's thinking it. And in some part of us, we have this like hide and seek level of comprehension where we're like, if I don't hear it, it doesn't exist. But when we make it safe for our partner to share the things that they're thinking about us, even if they are constructive feedback, what actually ends up happening is we create more trust and safety. Like, think about it. If you know that you can tell somebody anything, and even if it hurts their feelings, they're going to be okay with it. They're going to be like, okay, I'm really glad that you told me. It's hard to hear, but thank you for sharing. I do want to work on it. Or I don't know if I want to work on it, but I'm still glad that you told me because I care about you, right? So when we are avoiding feedback, we're almost like not cutting out the middleman. So the goal that you have is, I want to make sure that my partner likes me, right? Like, that's kind of what it's all about. I want to make sure that my partner likes me. And the route that we're taking is, if they don't have any constructive feedback for me, that means they like me. But the other way to get to that goal, to make sure that my partner likes me, is to create an open door policy where they can share whatever they need to say, is kind of the longer route to get them to really not just like me, but love me, see me, appreciate me, and feel seen and loved and appreciated, even when they have difficult things to say. And so when we have the courage to hear their feedback, we're actually cutting out the middleman of, I know that you like me because X, because you don't have anything negative to say about me. We're cutting out that middleman and we're being like, I know that you like me because I allow you to say whatever you need to say. And this actually goes both ways. Longer term, it's gonna build more reassurance even in yourself to know that your partner is going to be honest with you if you have like the emotional version of spinach in your teeth, right? Because for those of us who maybe seek a lot of reassurance, that reassurance is not going to be effective if we've kind of sent our partner the message, hey, tell me the truth, but tell me what I want to hear. Because we're going to know that even if they offer reassurance, we don't know if we can trust it. And so ironically, the way to build more security in ourselves is to be willing to hear the truth. You want the truth. You can handle the truth. The next thing I want to talk about is that, newsflash, you're not crazy. Like, some people are not going to like you. Some people are not going to like me. Some people aren't going to like anybody. It's kind of a numbers game. Like, if you think of how big the world is, it would be weird if every single person liked everything about you. And I think especially when we have neurodivergent traits, there's a lot of people that don't quite understand what we're saying. And that can lead to a lot of like misunderstandings that look a lot like rejection. A lot of like just kind of giving up before clarity is found. And so if you have repeated experiences of that, you are going to be way more attuned to, oh shit, is somebody not understanding me? Do I need to over-explain? Do I need to do all of these things that we do when we know from experience that if somebody misunderstands us, they might reject us? And so the second tool is really just having compassion for everything that happened in your past, maybe even before you were diagnosed, if you were diagnosed, or before you learned better communication skills. All of those things really created the template for how you experience messages that seem like rejection, but your partner is not your middle school bully. Your partner is not your teacher who doesn't understand why you're acting out. Your partner is somebody who is bringing feedback to you in a completely different context and actually, hopefully, trying to understand you more. And so remembering that the common reassurance isn't going to work for you. And what I mean by the common reassurance, it's like when people say, no, I'm sure they like you. I'm sure you're just imagining it. I mean, maybe, but maybe not. And the hack there is sort of like, even if everybody doesn't like me, I love, accept, and forgive myself. It's not, I will be okay as long as everybody likes me. So that's why sometimes when people offer those cognitive tricks or reassurances, it feels a little bit off and it feels like it doesn't apply. And so that's also related to the third thing that I want to share. The third thing is something called EFT tapping that you might have heard about because it's all over my channel and it is one of my absolute favorite coping skills. What it does is it creates this experience of like relaxation and empowerment and excitement, but it's connected to the problem that we're experiencing. And so the way that you can use EFT tapping for rejection sensitivity specifically is you can tap proactively. That's part of what we're going to be doing in this video. But once you learn how to tap, you can use it for any time you feel that sting of like, oh my God, this person is saying I suck. You can start tapping just on what you observe, what you feel, and you can accept it. You can figure out how you might want to feel instead and kind of tack that onto the end. And if you have any questions about tapping, obviously feel free to comment on this video or reach out to me or whatever. But for now, I'm just going to show you what it looks like because this is one of the ways that I've learned to receive feedback and even invite feedback, if you can believe it. So if you've never tapped before, it's super easy. You just follow along with me and tap where I'm tapping, and you can repeat the phrases that I'm saying, even if they're not literally true. Don't be afraid if I'm talking a lot about the pain point or the problem. Don't be afraid to say the phrase because a lot of the time our subconscious needs to kind of name it and let it go in order to move forward. But obviously, all that said, if something just feels weird for you to say, you don't have to say it. There's really no wrong way to do this, but I'm so curious what you think. We're going to get started on this side of the hand point, and you're just going to repeat after me. I want to make sure that everyone's okay with me. But I don't want the actual data. I only want to hear the good shit. But then when I hear the good shit, I don't believe it. I feel like it's a veiled message of how much I suck. And then when people tell me something constructive, I totally spiral. I feel like the worst person in existence ever. I feel like I should have already known what they said. And sometimes I did already know it, but I just didn't get to it yet. Which feels even worse. And the worst part is, my sensitivity to rejection is actually pushing people away. They feel like they can't talk to me. They feel like I'm going to completely fall apart. And they're not wrong. But it's really hard for me to think about changing this. Even though I'm sensitive to rejection, I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. And even though that makes things really complicated, I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. Okay, let's pause there and we're gonna do the rest of the tapping points, so just keep following me. Whenever someone gives me constructive feedback, I feel like a Jenga tower collapsing. Even when it was a Jenga piece that they thought was like pretty loose. And they get so confused. And I wish that I could stop being defensive or crying or whatever I do. But it just feels like I'm on high alert. When someone has an issue with me or a perceived issue with me, I feel scared. So this is like the side of the rib cage. I feel angry. I feel really lost. And I feel like I failed. And then I feel even worse because I'm making it about me instead of listening. because I'm just way too sensitive to rejection. And even though I feel scared, I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I feel angry when someone gives me feedback, at them or maybe at myself, or both. I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. And even though feedback has just been really hard for me, I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself for that too. My brain responds to feedback in a different way. And maybe I've never been taught a healthy way to hear somebody's thoughts. And with nature and nurture combined, it makes sense that I would have this response. But that doesn't mean I'm doomed to feel and behave this way forever. I can see a world where I'm really graceful about getting feedback. I mean, I'm sure nobody loves it. But maybe I'm open to seeing it as a sign that somebody loves me. Maybe when I get feedback, I can see a different subtitle translation. Because right now that subtitle translation is, "You're horrible, what are you even doing?" But maybe I can translate the feedback as, "Dang, this person really respects our relationship." They are willing to make both of us uncomfortable because they respect the relationship so much. When I see that as the translation, I feel more like a partner. And less like an 11-year-old who's gotten detention. And I am sending that 11-year-old version of me so much love. But when I'm a partner, I have a whole range of responses besides pushing the person away. I don't even have to fully take the feedback. I'm allowed to say, "I'm glad that you told me this. Let me think about it." I can incorporate the feedback right away if I want to. But I don't need to do that reactively. so that they're still okay with me. I can take their feedback from a confident, empowered-ish place. And even as I say that, I can feel myself sitting up straighter. And even though feedback has been impossible for me, I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. And I choose to shift in the teeniest of ways. Maybe I think about what my partner said. And instead of going to worst case scenario, I just go to pretty bad case scenario. And as I get stronger on this, I'm going to build more reps. But what I'm not going to do is beat myself up the way I think everyone else is beating me up. Because that doesn't help either. Maybe the reason I'm so sensitive to feedback is that I'm already mean enough to myself and so I have no room for anybody else to pile it on. But that is not going to fly anymore. Even though I've been so rude to myself, I choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. And I'm willing to think about letting my guard down. Not being so vigilant, not trying to prevent rejection. But just knowing that no matter what happens, I have my own back. And that is not something a person who sucks would say. Okay. That feels like a good place to end. So take a deep breath in and let it go. So that was your tapping on rejection sensitivity. I hope that that felt really yummy and empowering and that you can be a little bit kinder to yourself because there is a good reason that this is going on inside your head, but that doesn't mean that you can't take even the smallest step to invite your partner's thoughts and feelings a little bit more. And I promise you are going to feel the benefit of that in yourself and in your relationship. So if you have any questions, if you want to book a one-on-one tapping to get even more specific, you know where to find me. And either way, I will see you in the next video. So thank you so much for doing this with me. We are changing the world one point at a time. Okay, see you soon. Bye.